Hey, I'm Bob at ILikeToMakeStuff. Today I'm going to show you how to hide your giant X-Carve. I cut a 2x4 down into two 42-inch pieces. This is a little longer than the X-Carve, but it gave me a little extra poking out on each end. I also cut a piece to reinforce the back side of my work table. I wanted to make sure that there was plenty of surface area to attach hinges to. The frame under the X-Carve is made from 3/4 inch aluminum extrusions, and to fill that gap between these boards and the waste board, I added some 3/4 inch plywood. Now I'm basically just adding risers to two sides of the machine, but if you wanted to make the machine more rigid, you could build a full frame down there. I drilled some holes down each 2x4 with a countersink bit, and then went back and ran 2-inch screws down through the waste board into the 2x4. Then it was just a matter of lining up the 2x4 with the outside of my table and adding hinges. I used these strap hinges because they would help distribute some of the load down further onto the 2x4s of the table. I made sure to skip putting any screws into the MDF. The MDF here wouldn't really do a very good job, and I want to be able to swap out the MDF if I want a new tabletop. I cut down some more scrap to make an offset from the wall. I used some plywood and a 2x4. I glued the pieces together and added some screws from the back, and then made some holes from the front to be able to attach it to a stud. I pre-drilled a hole in the 2x4 and then added an eye screw. This is for a strap to hold the machine in the upright position. I added a matching eye screw to the 2x4 that would flip up and be right next to the strap. Now the machine will stay in place even if I'm working and moving the table around a little bit. For the electronics, I took a scrap of pine and screwed it to the end of one of the 2x4s. At this point I was just kind of making it up as I went along, and I realized that hose clamps would be a pretty good way to attach the electronics to that piece of pine. In doing this, none of the vents are covered, so I don't have to worry about cutting off any airflow, and it makes it really easy to take off if I need to do any work on the electronics. Also, since the electronics are upside down here, it keeps sawdust from falling into the Arduino and the fan. I plugged up the USB and then realized that the cable fit perfectly in the channel in the aluminum extrusion. I just covered that with duct tape to keep it in place. Now none of the electronics get moved or wires get bent when you move the machine into the upward position. I also ended up taping the power cord to the bottom of the machine so it would move as well. So recently I upgraded my X-Carve to the big machine. And by big, I mean like really big. This thing is 1 meter square. It's huge, has great cut capacity. I'm really glad to have it, but my shop is pretty small. So I didn't have a good place to put it. I'm gonna put a link down in the description for Steve Carmichael. He made a really nice fold down table so that you can bring it down into a space. I just physically don't have the room for another fold down thing. So I decided to put the machine on my existing work table and fold it up. As you saw in the video, the table is already away from the wall, so you have enough room for all this stuff to fit in this gap, so that worked out pretty well. And overall this is going to save me a lot of space, but at the same time I have a really big CNC machine that I can use now. I still have storage back here that I can use for things that I don't need very often, especially like saw blades, bandsaw blades, stuff like that I'll put here, and then anything that I need to get on a regular basis I'll put back on the wall over here. So if you're like me and you have a small shop but you have a big machine like this, you may have trouble finding a place to put it. I tried lots of different things. I tried hanging it on the wall with a French cleat. I tried making it fold down with legs coming out the bottom. There's all sorts of different problems, and there's all sorts of different solutions. If you have a different solution than this that worked well for you in a small shop, I would love to see it. So please leave it in the comments below or at ILikeToMakeStuff.com. I hope you liked this one. I've got more CNC projects that you can check out right up here, as well as woodworking and lots of other stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.